Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we are continue with the factions overviews with today Dol Guldur, the Naked Hill. Dol Guldur is the first Orcish faction we will deal with in this series, so let's dive in with starting regions. As Dol Guldur, you start with only one region, Dol Guldur itself, it's your capital. Um, So that's your only region, but you start with a rather large army. So we have a couple of units in Dol Guldur on the command of Lord Kamul. Down south we have Aglarre Corps with another 4 units, and up north we have also Lagaran with another 4 units. And over here in the fort with the borders of Eastbright and Dorlingvar we have Ularion with a unit of Shadow Rangers. Shadow Rangers. Camul Shadow Rangers. So you have a rather large force to start with, although do bear in mind these are Mirkwood units. They are not that good. They are pretty trash. So a pretty large army. As Dol Guldur, you are a Teutonic faction. You don't have a family tree. So you are more vulnerable to be regicide if both your faction heir and faction leader dies in the same turn. I will put down the volume a little bit. It's quite loud. Then the geographical area. You will hear some noise on the in the background. That is because the neighbors are moving. I have new neighbors apparently. I didn't know that they moved in already. So surprise, surprise. They are making kind of noise. So that you might hear some of that in the background. Continuing to the geographical area, we are in Mirkwood. So we have the penalty of the Mirkwood Forest, which can be seen in your general. And if we move down south, we don't see it. Where is it? Maybe it doesn't count for Mirkwood, for the Nazgul, but I wouldn't say so. I'm not sure. I would say there was a penalty for traveling through Mirkwood, but it might not apply towards the Nazgul. I'm not sure. But do bear in mind, it is possible that you will have a penalty for moving through the forest, that you will move some slower. The defensibility of your area is not very great. You are in the forest, so paths through the forest are limited, but besides that, there is no natural defense in here. So you will be able to be attacked from all sides. Continuing to expansion, well, you have a rather large army start, so you have a lot of potential to take a few provinces before you will meet any enemies. You will border the Anwinville northwest, but they will be bothered with other enemies, Gundabad, the goblins, so they won't really come for you in the early game. I advise to expand further down south. Take Doornahawk, take Ar-Adunaim, Boer-South Dorlingvar, Ossengal, Tusture. They're all here for the taking for you. So the first one you will meet are Lothlorien, who is on the other side of the Anduin River. And it will take quite a while before the Woodland Realm will come down into the forest to Enethar and Rhun. Also, they will take a while before they go for Buralg. because they will be occupied with Rhun as well. So you have unreasonable time to build up a few cities, get your economy and your military going before you have to go to war. And with a lot of rebel settlements, you should be fine, because even if you take these regions, Ralberg, Logard, Dortalu, they will be most likely fall to your hands, Dantalad. Although Dantalad might fall to Mordor. So there are opportunities enough to grow your empire before going to war. Then, continuing to custom battle maps. Dol Guldur is a custom battle map. I think it is the same battle map as you has the model over here. Two gates, two or three gates for entering, then a ring and the upper layer where you have your city center. City center it is. Besides that, we have Khazad-Dûm is custom, we have both Khazad-Dûms is custom, Roskabel might be custom, Bjorn's Halls is custom, further up north we have Thunder's Hall, Dale, Erebor, Eskarad. So there will be some variety in your fighting if you really come to your enemies. And then continuing with diplomacy, we are allied to Mordor and to Gundabad as through evil factions in the region, the orc factions around us. Do note we are not allied to Moria, and we start at war with Khazad-Dûm, the Anduin Vale, the Woodland Realm, and Lothlorien, so a lot of enemies. But we are not at war with Dorwinion, so expanding towards there would be a wise idea, just like we're not at war with both Erebor or Dale, so we can move up our borders quite a bit before we really need to fight. Then dealing with buildings. We have a few things we do have to take care of. In the military branch, we have wargs. We have the stables who provide us with wargs. We have the range who provide us with with our missile units, and we have the barracks, and there is something different. Because from this version on, Dol Guldur don't have a third tier barracks. They only have the barracks and the guard barracks. But at the third tier we see the shadows calling, and as you look at the screen you see that it requires the archery range. This building will allow you to train your highest units. The Castellans, the Shadow Guard, the Shadow Rangers and the Shadow Knights. I think the spiders will be available already, maybe not. No, apparently not. So also the spiders do require the shadows calling. So to get your highest tier of barracks you need an archery range. For the other barracks count that the town hall line of the castle hall line is required. But do note there's no blacksmith required. Continuing to the blacksmith itself, we have 3 tiers of barracks, blacksmiths. So we have the ladder tenant, the ladder worker, and the blacksmith. Do we have any unique buildings? Well, besides the Shadows Calling, not. We have one guild, that is the Fighters Guild, who will provide with orc fighters and orc hunters, and it will provide double of them in the Brawler's Hall. Well, then the ports. We only have one port. We are not a seafaring nation. We don't like ships. We hate to sail the waters. We only do it to get from one point to the other. Well, and preferably only to get from the one side of the river to the other side and not more. So we do have a port, but we don't have access to any ships, and we don't like the sea. We are not restricted. We can get up all the way to an stronghold, and we have all the way up to a huge encampment. Besides that, there is nothing that is limited to us. Oh yes, one last thing. From earlier versions, we had 2 tiers of Beast Cage. It has been reduced to 1 tier, which requires the guard barracks and will provide us with our trolls. Well, then, last thing, culture building. I think I already mentioned it once. We have the Shrine of Melkor. We are Melkor's people, so we have a bonus at the first tier of a 0.5% of population growth, which is nice, which is increased to 1% on the second tier and 1.5% at the third tier. Third tier also giving some order bonus and some reduced training costs. So overall, a really nice building. I always think that this looks like a face, but it might just be me. Fruit production, we are not limited. Unlike the dwarves, who are limited to only 2 tiers of farms. Yes, but besides that, no limitations in buildings. Continuing to scripts. As far as I'm aware of, there are no scripts for Dol Guldur, except for, well, it's not really a script, the Nazguls. If the Nazguls die, they will replenish once. So they die, you have to wait 10 turns, and they will respawn in Dol Guldur, as long as you hold Dol Guldur. Besides from that, there is no special script for Dol Guldur. It's just plain as it goes, take your regions, rule the world. Talking about conditions, we have to hold 40 regions, and that has to include Karas Galadon, Thunderous Halls, and Bjorn Halls. So we have to take out our direct enemies, the Elves of Lothlorien, the Anduin Vale, and the Woodland Realm. So we have to rule Mirkwood and the Vale of the Anduin. Going down to the river, from which I didn't know the name in the Rohan overview, but somebody cleared out it's the Dim Light. So this river really is there, and it's called the Dim Light of the Limelight River. Yes, just like the region over there is the Limelight Fields. This is the Limelight River, from where Isengard will start his empire. So basically, rule Mirkwood, rule the Anduin Vale, and you're done. Do I have any last things for Dol Guldur? Not really. I have to admit, I never played as Dol Guldur. Don't really like the Orcish factions all that much. They rely more on numbers than quality of troops, although Dol Guldur has quite a few really good troops, which we'll see in the second part of this video. But for this first part, not much to say. And this could be a really interesting faction, because unlike, for example, Mordor or Gundabad, who has their own features, Dol Guldur has this mix with really good human high tier units, which I really like. But without further ado, let's move to the battle map. And welcome to the battle map of Dol Guldur. And in a quick overview, we have quite a few ranged options. We have decent infantry options, and we have a few cavalry options. And if we look to the far right, we see our beast options. But let's just dive in with our first units, the Mirkwood units. They are underground now, so can't really see them. First with the Mirkwood goblins. They have a 2 attack, a 4 charge, and a 2 defense, making them on the same level as Snaga. So not really good. They have poor morale response. They're slightly faster than other infantry units. And like the majority of our army, they like the forest and the snow, but they don't like the barren and the grasslands. And they have the nice feature that they can hide everywhere. We will see that throughout our rosters. We have a lot of units that can hide in the forest or everywhere. So we are a good ambushing faction. The goblins are supported by the Mirkwood hunters with a 1 attack, a 2 missile attack, a 2 charge, and a 1 defense. They are, well, terrible infantrymen and alright orcish archers. An arrow always do some damage. Let's put it that way. They have poor morale response. They are also slightly faster than other infantry. They have 60 missiles, 140 meters on the range, and a very low accuracy, making them not very likely to kill anything. But there are 200 of them, so numbers matters. That is our trash tier. Let's go up to our, well, militia tier, and we start with the Dol Guldur host. With a 4 attack, a 3 charge, and an 8 defense. They are way better than our Mirkwood units. They have an average morale response. They are slightly slower than other infantry units. They are orcs, so they move a little bit slower. And this is what they look like. They are supported by the Orc Maulers, a strike infantry unit with a 5 attack, which is armor piercing, a 5 charge, and a 5 defense. Do note their defense is all in armor or defense skills, so they are very vulnerable to archer fire. Don't send them against the elven archers, because they will die. They have average morale, impetuous morale response, and they are reliable in the snow. Although I actually don't really know what they mean with reliable in the snow. Like, will other units run in the snow or something? I'm not sure. Nevertheless, the Orc Maulers, a good addition for your attacking strategy. While the host holds the line, the Maulers can strike from the flanks. These guys are supported by 2 missile units. First we have, let's first get the Dol Guldur Scouts, a javelin unit with a 4 melee attack, a 5 missile attack, and a 3 charge. They are alright when they are done with the javelins. They have a total defense of 6, which is equally spread amongst all skills. They have an average morale response. They're slightly slower than other infantry. They have 3 missiles with a 55-meter range and a low accuracy. And also here we see again they are adept in hiding in the woods, which means they will be able to hide in the forest. They're skilled against mounts with their javelins, giving them a small advantage against cavalry. Then going to our other archer unit are the Dol Guldur archers. With a 3 melee attack, a 3 missile attack, and a 2 charge bonus, they are way better than the Mirkwood hunters. And a total defense of 5 will keeping them alive as well. They have average morale response, 22 missiles on the range, 160 meters range, a low accuracy, and their arrows are poisonous. We will see that in more units. I don't think these guys had it, no. But this is our first poisonous unit, which means that they will reduce enemy morale, and is actually quite useful if used proper. Because if you shoot enemies with this unit and then charge in a walk unit immediately from somewhere else, there is a high chance they will run, unless they have a very good morale. So that is the way Dol Guldur works. Speaking about the wargs, we have the warg marauders. They have an 8 missile and an 8 attack, a 5 charge bonus, and an 11 defense. They scare horses because it's basically a camel unit, I think. I think it uses the camel animation and is seen as a camel unit. That is why they scare horses. They have an average morale and a patches morale response. That's slightly faster than other cavalry, but again, I think that is because it uses the camel animation and that moves a little bit slower than horses. So to compensate it, they have been given a small bonus in speed. Like horses, they don't like the forest and they don't like the barren, but they do like to fight on the grasslands. And the wargs has a bonus against horses. I think the trolls I will you get to the trolls in the next tier, which is like your mainstream infantry units. We have the Uruks. Starting with the most defensive of them all are the Mirkwood Uruks with a 4 attack, 5 attack, a 4 charge bonus, and an 80 defense. These guys will hold the line against enemy infantry. They have a good morale, a patches morale response. They are skilled against mounts. Overall, just a decent unit. And again, this is what these guys look like. Then going to the more offensive one of them, the Uruk Slayers. A 7 attack with which is armor piercing, a 6 charge bonus, but only a 13 defense. Again, mostly in armor, a few in defense skill, but no shield. So also these guys are more vulnerable to archer fire. They have a good morale, an impetuous morale response. They have a bonus against elephants. It's because of these axes they can cut through everything. Overall, a good addition to the Mirkwood Uruks. They are supported in this tier with the goblins. Starting with the goblin stalkers, which is a javelin unit as well. With a 7 melee attack, a 6 charge, a 6 missile attack, and a 5 charge bonus, making them almost as strong as the Uruk Slayers in the attack. But the defense of 12 do keep them alive for quite a while as well. These guys do have a shield, so they are a little bit better prepared against archers. And they are effective against armor with their javelins. I think they use spears when they are done. I'm not really sure actually. I think they use spears when they are done with their javelins. And they have an average morale response. They are slightly faster than other infantry. They have 3 missiles, 55 meters on range, and an average accuracy. Again, these guys can hide anywhere. They have, like most javelin, they are skilled against mounts. And the javelins were armor piercing, already said that. Then their archer counterpart are the goblin headhunters. With a 5 melee attack, a 5 missile attack, and a 3 charge bonus. These guys are a direct upgrade from the Dol Guldur archers. They have a 10 missile attack, well, hear me, a 10 defense, equally divided in armor and defense skills, so they are vulnerable against enemy archers as well, so keep that in mind. They can hide everywhere, as we already saw also with the goblin head stalkers. Also, these guys also have poisonous arrows, so they reduce enemy morale. They have 28 arrows, 107 meters on range, and an average accuracy. They have this really nice green cape, which should blend in very well with the forest. So we have this uniformity in The goblin units, uniformity in the Uruk units. So I do like that that you can easily see. All right, this is Dol Guldur units. They are more early tier, and these are the Uruk units. They are more high tier. Speaking about the Uruks, they are supported by another uh, warg unit, the Goblin Striders, an javelin throwing warg unit with a 7 melee attack, a 9 missile attack, which is armor piercing, and a 7 charge bonus. They will do decently, also even when they are done with the javelins. They have a 30 defense, which makes them even better on the defense than the warg marauders, and slightly less effective in the attack. Although if you count the charge in, they should do around the same amount of damage. They are adept in hiding in the woods, so they can quite easily hide in forests. They are effective against armor with their javelins. When they're done, I think they used regular spears, maybe swords. But I think spears, so that is not effective against armor. They scare horses because they use also the camel traits. They have a good morale and a patches morale response. They have 6 missiles, which is quite a lot for a javelin. They have 70 meters on the range, and they have an average accuracy. Then coming up to you elite tier units, starting with the infantry. Do remember these guys come from the Shadows Calling, the special building that requires the archery range. Starting with the Castellans of Dol Guldur. These are the bodyguards of Aglaricon and Lagran, which I didn't mention are unique. You only have unique bodyguards at the start of your game. We haven't seen your regular ones. This is the bodyguards of Lagran and Aglaricon, and these are the Castellans of Dol Guldur, and they are very strong. They have a 10 attack, a 3 charge, and a 27 defense, making them really hard to defeat in melee and in missile as well. Do note, most of the defense is within armor, so armor piercing units will have a better time against them than non-armor piercing. They have excellent morale, which is locked. That means they will not run away. They will fight till the last man. They frighten nearby enemies. They have good morale response. No bonuses. Just a very good late tier unit. They are supported by Kamul's Shadow Guard, a more strike unit with a 15 attack and a 7 charge, making them really strong on the attack. They have a 21 defense, but the majority of that is in armor. And they don't have any shields, so they are more vulnerable to archer fire. They have a very good morale, a good morale response, and no bonuses. Then going to Kamul Shadow Guards, and this is the bodyguard of Ularion, the general in the fort north of Dorlingva. Yeah, they have a 7 attack, a 6 missile attack, a 3 charge bonus, and a 12 defense. Also, these guys use poisonous arrows, so they reduce enemy morale. They have 32 of them. They have 215 meters on the range, qualifying them as rangers, as they are called. So they are, I think, the only evil unit that has such a range. Although Gundabad might have a similar unit, but 250 meters on range and a very high accuracy, so they will hit what they aiming for. This is the unit that can use sharpened stakes for you. They can hide anywhere. Overall, just a really good unit. And you start your game with 2 of these units, so use them well. Then the last, and one of your strongest units in the game, Kamul's Shadow Knights, the bodyguard of Kamul the Easterling himself, of course. With a 10 attack, an 11 charge bonus, and 29 defense, they are beasts in the field. They are very hard to take down, and especially in early games, use this bodyguard, because they will win your battles for you. They have an excellent morale, a good morale response. They're slightly slower than other cavalry. And they have a secondary attack, which is slightly slower than the primary attack. So they are best used charging in the enemy, moving out, and then charge again. Very powerful unit and really, really good. I really recommend them to use them early games, because they will make the difference between winning and losing your campaign. Then last of your, well, kind of regular infantry units, the Great Black Spiders, who are reintroduced in the game. They have a 6 attack, a 7 charge bonus, and 23 defense and 2 hit points. In earlier tests, they proved to be kind of difficult to defeat. Very nasty unit to fight against. They're skilled against mounts. They're frightened nearby enemies. It's one of the few units that do frighten your enemies, and very useful unit. And I said I would deal with the trolls earlier, but I just I forgot them. So let's just do them nevertheless. The trolls with a 38 attack, a 10 charge bonus, and then 30 defense with 5 hit points. They are, well, they're literally beasts. They are very hard to kill, and those who have seen my Anduin campaign will agree with me. I had a hard time killing these guys. Even with some armor-piercing troops, they were hard to take down. They are relentless. They cannot be staggered, which means they will not be stopped when someone charges into them, as other units might do. They have excellent morale, which is locked, so they will not run. They have impetuous morale response. They are slower than other infantry, but because of the movement, they seem to be faster. So I think again this is to compensate their animation. They're skilled against mounts. They frighten nearby enemies. They have a powerful charge. 10 charge is really powerful indeed. So they are a very, very strong addition to your army. And then we have to deal with one more unit, which is your bodyguard, which is a new bodyguard in this game. The Mirkwood bodyguard. These guys throw axes, if I'm right. They look like a revamped Uruk bodyguard, because they are. It means that Dol Guldur now has his own unique bodyguard, the Mirkwood bodyguards. They have a 12 attack, a 9 missile attack, which is armor piercing, and a 6 charge bonus, and a total defense of 18. But do note they don't have a shield. So throughout all of our lines we see that we are more vulnerable to archer fire than other factions, which is not in our advantage since we are fighting mostly elves. So we have to be careful for them. But besides that, good unit, skilled against mounts, but with their axes. I think when they are done, they also have armor piercing axes, but I could be wrong about that. They have good morale, which is not locked. That is good. Your generals will run. You can save them if you want to, except for those who don't have this unit. They have impetuous morale response, so they deal with morale shocks really good. Like all orcs, they're slightly slower, and they have a bonus fighting against camels, walks, and horses. Then I need to retouch a little bit on things, because if I'm right, the Castellans are restricted to Dol Guldur, so do keep that in mind. I think the Shadow Knights are not. Oh no, they are so restricted to Dol Guldur. And these guys might also be restricted to Mirkwood, maybe. Yes, the rangers are restricted to Mirkwood Forest, which means everything from Dol Guldur. From there we have east of it we have Dorlingval, and everything up towards Tandril's halls is Mirkwood. So basically every forested region in that area is seen as Mirkwood Forest. The trolls are not restricted, no. And I think neither of these guys are. I could be wrong, of course, so I will check for you guys. No, so we have a few restricted units. The Shadow Guard is not restricted, so they can train everywhere. And there we have fighters are also restricted, I guess. No, they're not. Good. So you have only a few restricted units, which is not too bad, and that will deal with Dol Guldur's roster. So I hope you guys found any useful information in it. If you want to see things change, I try to adapt the most changes, because I really want to do this for you guys. Give you the overview you would like to see. Any tips are welcome, so don't mind commenting with something you would like to see differently. But for now, I'm gonna give everything to the AI. And let us see what faction we will be fighting next. Alright, I see things riding over there. It seems like some kind of chariots that reduces the amount of faction we can play. We can have. I see red in there. I do see some yellow. I see that we are being shot. I see more horses over here. More yellow, orange, something. I see our troops are doing terrible as we speak. See more troops over here, more orange, more yellow-ish. Some ballistine. See horses over here. They seem to be shooting with javelins. As we move in, we see the Felani herders. Yes, it is Annette White, which we will be dealing with next episode. We have the Warband Blades. I think that is a done landing unit that Annette White has access to. We have their later Annette White marksmen. We have the guard. Are those guardsmen? Yeah, the guardsmen. Those are some elite later Annette Whitean units. We have here the Annette Whitean cavalry. Oh, and we are running. We are literally running away with the Annette Whiteans making havoc amongst our lines. And even the spider's not doing that great. They are being shot to pieces. So they're not that great. I imagine they would do better, but apparently maybe they will do better in melee, because they seem to be doing quite alright against these guardsmen. No, yes, not sure. But we are losing, and we're losing hard. Oh boy. Yeah, this this is really over. So that is Dol Guldur. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, please leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you soon in another video of Divide and Conquer. But until then, goodbye.